Hey everybody. So, new computer. New to me anyway. Refurbished, so not 100% new. Hopefully this all works. It literally showed up today in the mail, and I literally have just had it on this afternoon. So, we're going to try this out and see what happens. Because, we might as well. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about pagan parenting and pagan families and things in our community such as they are. And I want to start out by pointing out that I have here on my table next to me 6, 9, 10, 11 books, 11 pagan parenting books. None of them are mine, so there are at least 12 out there. This is the one with the oldest copyright as far as I can tell. The copyright on this book is 1993. I was still in high school in 1993, so it's been a while. But I want to point out that this one, so this was the Family Wicca book by Ashleen Ojia. Wicca Craft for Families by Margie MacArthur, and The Pagan Family by Cesar Sirith. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Were both published in 1994. So, there have been 3 pretty solid books out there since the mid-90s, at least. This one, Celebrating the Great Mother, was in that same time frame too. 1995. Celebrating the Great Mother by Kate Johnson and Mara Shaw. So look, that's 4 that were published in the mid-90s. So that's 25-ish years ago. And the most recent one here in this pile, I think, is Children of the Green. And it was published in not this one. That was 2014. The Magical Family by Monica Crossan. That was published in 2017. So, alright, we have a dozen books published in the last 25 years-ish. And even with all of this good information, our communities still suck at working with kids and bringing kids into events. And even just providing basic child care and support for parents. And I don't understand this, right? I have this whole shelf full of books. This is not the only books, by the way, that talk about families and talk about daily life and that sort of thing. But they are specifically pagan parenting related. Like Coven Craft, which is equally old. I don't even have it here with me right now. I wonder when that was published. Let me see if Amazon can tell me. So Coven Craft by Amber Kay was published in 2002, and even Coven Craft talks about how to run like a Monday school, a Sunday school type program. Coven Craft was published in 2002. That's 18 years old now. That's a little crazy to me. It feels like it should be older. Alright, so let's talk about what other books we have here. Because you might as well, because I've got them all. Children of the Green. This was in 2014. This was by Dr. Hannah E. Johnston. I really wanted to like this book because the introduction was spot on. The rest of it, not so much, because she gets into this focus on the elements. And I don't know, maybe it's just my kids, right? My kids are weird compared to everybody else's kids. Because we live in a in a autism and cerebral palsy kind of world, and nothing that people say about kids actually works for mine. But she gets stuck in this element model, and it really doesn't work for my kids. I'm going to review all of these on paganparenting.info, by the way. I have not reviewed all of them, which is a little sad because some of them I really have owned since like 2000 or before. And you would think I would get my act together and finish reviewing the things I've got, but no, of course not, because I get distracted. Raising Witches. This is another one by Ashley Nogia, and it was published in 2002, right? That's 2 by her, by the way. Family Coven, this is by Lydia Crabtree. I studied under Lydia, one of her daughter covens, for a while, so, you know, under this paradigm. So Dragonstone Family Coven is in one of my uplines, and that's, you know, that informs a lot of what I do today. Anyway, that was 2015. Pagan Parenting by Kristen Madden. That one was 2000. Pagan Homeschooling. This is hilarious, by the way. This came up this past week or two, and at one point the cheapest I could find this book was like $400 because it's out of print now. It's out of print. It was published in 2002. I didn't think it was that great a book on homeschooling, but I'm going to go back and reread it anyway because COVID and crisis schooling and virtual schooling and all that crap. I'm going to reread it and I'm going to review it, and we'll see if my opinions have changed any, but I've heard the same thing from other people. She spends a lot of time talking about the fact that she was raised pagan and raised in a homeschooling environment, and that's nice, but that doesn't actually help when you're trying to do anything. And then, of course, the ever popular Circle Round. This was written by Starhawk and Diane Baker and Ann Hill, but people only ever remember the Starhawk part of that. And it was published in first edition 1998. So there are lots and lots of good books out there. Like I said, I didn't even bring my own book into this pile. This is everything else that I've bought over the years to try and understand how to parent and raise a child in a pagan household. So I have a dozen books. One of them I wrote. Plus I have, you know, books for them and books books that are more like family oriented. What was I looking at today? Like The Magical Household and Pagan Rites of Passage, and what else is up here? What else? Anyway, things that are more like lifestyle oriented, or like specific to kids in terms of activity books or whatever, right? So we have all these good books. This whole pile of books here. There's plenty of information. People can go online. There used to be, BBI Media used to put out a magazine called The Blessed Bee, which was a parenting magazine. I have a whole bunch of issues of it here on my bookshelf. For those of you who don't know, BBI does Sage Woman and Witches and Pagans magazines. So we have all this stuff. So why in the world is it so freaking hard to get people to realize that, number one, our communities have children in them. And if we're not including them, then we are leaving families out of the discussion completely. Because, frankly, childcare is freaking expensive. And if you're pagan and you're trying to find a child care provider who isn't Christian, you're in trouble in many parts of the country. And so to participate in anything, you either have to find childcare or you have to have somebody you can leave your child with. And so since we don't have a plan, and we don't want a plan in most cases, that leaves out a lot of people. Even the places that do have a plan. I went and benchmarked everything I could find online this winter about a bunch of big festivals. And some of them have sort of a childcare corner. That's sort of a co-op deal, right? And that's fine, that's all well and good, but you're going to throw your kids in random childcare for a weekend and not like just let them hang out there? Is that how you really think parents want this to work? Like, we want our kids to come home and actually have had some good experiences that they enjoy and they want to go back to. Some groups don't even bother with that. They just let everybody run loose, which I'm sure works for many people. But again, my kids are weird. Turning my kids loose and hoping for the best is not a good choice, right? Half the time you can't leave them here in the house and hope for the best. We are on a 10 to 15 minute check-in routine. If you let it go longer than that, they've probably destroyed something or left the house. And that's another problem entirely. Speaking of which, if you are interested in reading more about my experiences looking at how we could better include children with many different disabilities, you should hit me up over on Patreon, because that's what I'm writing about over there. I need to do another update on that here in the near future. But I'm trying to get in the habit of writing every day again. If not there, then either on PBN or on paganparenting.info or whatever. So most of our big public events barely do anything for kids. Most of our community centers that still exist don't really do much for kids. And for the most part, parents are basically told to figure it out themselves, and we should really be considering that that's just bullshit, right? It's not that this information isn't out there. There is plenty of info. Plenty of info. I literally have a foot-tall stack of books here. Right? Plenty of info. I probably have another foot-tall stack of books of things to do with kids that are basically pagan, right? We have fairies, and we have wizards, and we have nature crafts. I have this book called Snips and Snails and Walnut Whales from the 1970s about how to make things out of things you find in nature. So yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But somebody actually has to take the time to do it. So, I feel like our communities should do a better job of supporting families and supporting parents, and frankly of supporting kids, because there's no reason we shouldn't. We have 25 years worth of information here. We have Spiral Scouts. I went through and thought about it. Back in the early 2000s, Goddess Moon Circles had a group. There was Oak Scouts in Missouri, there was Spiral Scouts, there was Earth Scouts, there was several other pagan youth groups. And most of them have folded. Most of them have nothing going on anymore. This is not hard stuff, you guys. This is basic stuff. Oh, back to the child care thing. So here in Michigan, throughout at least our county, which is in the northern suburbs of Detroit, a mom that I know has custody of some family members' kids who are preschool aged. And because she has a kinship placement, she gets state benefits for childcare. There are no daycares in our entire county, including the one run by our school district, no preschools in the entire county, including the one run by our school district, that will take state daycare assistance money, except those run by Christian churches. The thing is, when you take that money, that's not the only money you get. It's like $80 a week or something like that, and then you pay the rest of it, which out here is a ton still. I think when my kids were in preschool, we were paying $160 or $170 a week for them, maybe more. So the state pays $80 and you pay the rest of it, right? But the only places you can go here in our county to get that deal are Christian churches. So that leaves you with a lot of challenges if you want a different sort of experience for your kids. And I really think we ought to be thinking about this kind of stuff. We're not the only ones who don't really want a Christian environment, per se. Even secular daycares here don't take that, though, which is just crazy to me. It's guaranteed money. We, as a community, ought to be stepping up our game and looking around and figuring out how to put all these things together and put them into use. There's no reason that we couldn't do that. So anyway, I think that's my rant for tonight. Again, plenty of information. There's no reason that this should be even an issue, because there's plenty here. You could get together a group of people, write up some curriculums, and sell them, and you wouldn't even have to come up with your own shit, right? But we're not doing that either. We're not doing nothing. So we give the impression that we don't care about those people, and that makes it hard for them to participate in our events because we aren't helping them do that. So, as always, if this has been interesting, feel free to drop by my Ko-fi link that's in the description of the event, or jump over to Patreon and subscribe there. And I will see you next week, hopefully with more to say about something specific. If you got questions, feel free to ask. Needless to say, I have lots of opinions. And I will happily talk about whatever it is that you're interested in knowing. So, with that, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.